Astra travelers, and welcome to another episode of Tales of Teyvat, a Genshin Lore Podcast. Last week, we talked all about sweet, wonderful Toma and his involvement in the Archon quest and more. This week, we're heading to Sumeru to talk about a sleepy, dual personality character as we discuss Layla.
Are you looking for some sweet dreams or maybe just a refreshment? Well, head on over to our site, talesofteyvat.com, where Tiff has a fresh pot of visuals waiting to take your eye bags on a lovely little vacation.
While you're on our site, check out our past episodes and seasons, artist spotlights from the community for every topic, and some other goodies.
Finally, feel free to email us at talestofatpod@gmail.com to let us know what you think of this week's episode and what topics you'd like to see in the future. Additionally, travelers can feel free to check us out on Ko-fi, where you could buy us a cup of coffee, Diet Pepsi, or check out our merch shop where we have Twink Tank, Dead Friend Club, stickers, shirts, and more. So definitely check that out as well. Layla, when we first met her, I just remember thinking she was so fucking pretty.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like in my eyes, I was like, I just wanted her because she was gorgeous.
Even with bags under her eyes, she's still beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It's very true.
I love that bags under her eyes is legit in the character design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, for most of the characters, they would just describe them as having bags under their eyes, but they're like, no, we're going to do a little bit of shading.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of Vivi from Final Fantasy. I don't know if either of you know Vivi at all, but super cute little like mage character with a hood and everything. I don't know. I think it's the hat that makes me think of Vivi, but totally into it.
You know, it's funny. I don't think I noticed that it was a hat at first. And it's only because of the colors so similar. But when you look at it and like turn and open your eyes, it's a hat. But like I focus so much on the devil lock dancing fucking haircut in the front so much that I don't think I noticed. Like I thought she was really pretty, but then I was just like, does that get annoying in the middle of your face like that?
She's like, yes, absolutely.
They love doing that. They love putting hair in between people's eyes.
Yeah, it's an anime thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
Oh, really? See, I'm not that big into anime and stuff, so I'm a little on the noob side of that.
it's like anytime you want to cosplay a character, you know you're gonna have hair in your face. So annoying. Like my Tignari wig, I actually brush it to the side. I refuse.
Oh, really?
Like if you just look through Genshin characters, you'll see a surprising number of them have hair in between their eyes.
I don't know why this one seems to be the one, though, that like stands out to me the most.
I think it's because it's longer. It goes like all the way down to her chin, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, if just looking at some of my favorite characters, Child, Tignari, Diluc, all have it. Kanich, Ganyu, Kaching, Klee has a little baby one, Hazo, Mika, your boy Auroran has it, Tiff. Come on.
Yeah, well, his is more like, I just kind of look at his as more like the emo look. Like this is like pronounced.
His is as long as hers. They're comparable.
When they did the Klee alternate, didn't they put a bow on hers?
Yes, they did. It's the most ridiculous fucking thing, but it's also so fucking cute for no reason.
See, I don't think his is the same as hers, though. I really don't.
It's definitely the same length.
I don't know. I guess hers is so swoopy whoopty right in the middle of her face. I guess that's why it gets me. And like it's just something that I pay more attention to on her.
Hers is like wavier and curlier, so yeah.
And it's got stars imprinted on it. Like, fucking cool if you ask me. I love, you guys mentioned her hood hat thing. I love that it has an opening for her hair at the bottom. It's like iconic.
Yeah. It's tied around there.
Like someone invented that going, this is for a girl with long ass hair.
Well, actually, it's really weird. Looking at that a little bit more, because it's tied. There's like a tie, because obviously it would have to be connected somehow. But the tie goes into her necklace.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Yeah. I wonder how you put that on.
There's some physics being broken here too, because the hood's only on half of her head. Like, but her design.
Sleepwalker Layla puts it on for her.
Yeah, Layla, how do you get dressed? She's like, I don't know.
She's like, I was not fully dressed when I went to bed.
When I went to bed, I was naked.
No.
I woke up dressed and ready to rock. Also, too, another, I think, important thing to note is that Layla has the same ears as Klee,
Yeah, I always forget that she has the elf ears and Nahida.
which there's so many questions about that, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fan theories though that go around it. One of them that I read that I thought was really interesting was, are they like Saurian related? Which kind of brought back to what we were
Mhm.
talking about. Who else did we say was Saurian related? Bennett?
yeah, I said Pennant because of his fangs that were totally just an anime thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about that before too, even when sort of evaluating Nouvelette's ears, because we know he is, the reincarnated dragon, but his ears don't look like these elf type ears.
Yeah.
Right.
They're more like a blend between a regular human ear and pointy ear. But
Yeah. It looks like he's wearing like those cosplay things you wear to like Renaissance fairs to give you more of like an elfin tip on your ear,
mhm,
where like they have legitimate elf ears.
right. So yeah, we don't know much about elf genealogy in this game.
Yeah, like is it actually just like a human trait that doesn't really mean much, or is there something more to it?
Right, right, right.
Yeah, I know that like a lot of people have even like theorized that like maybe it has something to do with like a Seelie relation.
Hmm.
I know with like Alice, the assumption is Alice must have these elfin ears because Klee does.
Right.
Looking at Alice, she's probably the one we have the most lore on. It's like, is she from out of this world? Is it because she's from a different dimension? Like, we have no
Hmm.
idea.
And Ruka Devada had them, right? Since Nahida does.
I mean, I think they were pretty close. They looked pretty close.
It's something that we know gods can have too.
Yeah. And it's interesting because we really don't know Ruka Devada's origins, right? Where,
Hmm.
like, we've had discussions about how the Archons could be gods, they could be wisps, they could possibly be descenders. There's a big question there of, like, what does that mean in regards to their origins?
Right.
But whatever. So yeah, there's a lot of questions about her design and what that could possibly mean at a greater level for the game, but who fucking knows anymore, right? Everything is a question, nothing is an answer.
But I really liked her when I first saw her. My only problem with her is her very tired sounding voice.
But she's
Yeah.
tired.
And it just takes her so long.
But she's sleepy.
Tiff
I'm
already has a
sleepy.
problem with
Yeah.
like staying awake for the dialogue.
I
And
know. And then that idea to do this hangout really late at night too. By the end of it, I was like, I don't care. Just go to
you're
bed.
like, I have
I just want to
become
go to bed.
Layla. I
Yes.
am Layla.
Did your shadow self finish the hangout for you?
They might have.
I get it. Well, my shadow self edits the podcast sometimes, so I wake up and I'm like, I don't remember moving these things. What? But did you guys have any other like initial thoughts about Layla?
I remember just kind of not giving her that much thought. Like, she's not very important in the main story of the game,
Hmm.
arguably. I mean, some people might think she is, but
Well, she's not in the Archon, right? Like that's a big
right.
part of it.
And she's important. She's an important part of the academia lore,
Yeah.
you could argue. But the way that her character was kind of introduced after the fact. So at first, I was kind of like, who is she and why do we care? I think
Yeah.
when she got a little more screen time in some of the events, I think it kind of made more sense and we got to see her in like more context. But at first I was like, oh, she's pretty. Am I ever going to use her? And I was kind of like, oh, is she like the 4-star Ganyu?
I like that.
Because of her burst just reminds me of Ganyu's.
Yeah, it does. I know we had friends who were like super hyped about Layla, but you're right. Like it's hard because when you first meet her, you're kind of like, all right, we got a sleepy lady who
Hmm.
studies, and it's nice that we have someone else in the academia because at this point, all the academia folks that we've met are graduates, right? Like
Mhm.
we've dealt with Tinyari, Sinal, Al-Haytham, Kaveh, and we may have met or at least heard of Feruzan at this point, but we didn't know any students,
Hmm.
which
Yeah.
kind of was weird. I mean, Kale wasn't a student. Like She wants to be.
Yeah, I mean, we met a plenty of the NPC ones, but yeah, playables, they were all
NP who?
NPC you later.
NPC,
What was it? NPC.
NPC, yeah. NPC later. Yeah, I think that that is a good point, Feeny, that I'm glad they gave us a student. And she's kind of like our window to see how stressful the academia is and how hard it is on their students. Because most of the people that are playable characters basically already done with their studies.
Yeah, and we get to see that stress firsthand, where I feel with like other characters, we've only heard about the stress. We know Kaveh breakdown sense, breakdown city for Kaveh, and we know that Al-Haytham, he had no qualms, but Al-Haytham just made it through. But Tinyari and Sino, they definitely make note that it was hard and that, they got through it mostly together because they're adorable.
I feel like Lisa was like piece of cake.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Lisa graduated in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's insanity.
Layla is shook too when she finds out that the traveler knows her and is like, how can I meet her? How can I study from her? Like, how do I get close to her?
She's like so impressed with the fact that she did it in 2 years. She's like, how did she do that when I'm struggling right now with 1 day?
With every deadline.
With everything that I have to do. So I think before we jump too much into Layla, even though we talked a good amount about her already, but before we jump too far into Layla, I think it'd be a really good idea to do a quick review of the life of the academia and basically how the academic situation is currently set up for students and for us all to know. We really haven't talked about an academic in a while, at least not here. So for those of you who may not remember, need a quick refresher, the academia is basically college. And it's a very esteemed college situation.
Yeah, it's grad school, college.
And that's the only college. It's like doctorate level, honestly.
Yeah, totally.
You skip your bachelor's, you skip your master's, no associates, doctorate.
I always thought of it like Harvard also.
Yeah, like green Harvard.
Yeah, green.
Is that Dartmouth? I think that might be Dartmouth. But the academia is broken up into different darshans, which you can kind of consider like your different schools. Like a lot of colleges have like the School of Arts, the School of Business, the School of STEM, School of Law,
Medicine,
Rock.
And yes, School of Rock.
The School of Rock.
Yes.
Ito went there.
Ito, no, he also went to cosmetology school to get his hair perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But the academia is divided up into 6 schools of thought that each have like an accompanying color, study, and symbol that goes with them. For Layla, she's a Ratawahist scholar. Over there, their whole thing is they study stars, astronomy, astrology, other things like that. They love Mona's astrology column. The original sage for this darshan was Azar, who later went on to become the Grand Sage as well. And as you know, that didn't really go well for him when he tried to make a fake god in the basement of the school. So he is gone. And I wonder if him being gone adds some more stress to Layla's plate, because there's probably some interesting leadership overturning happening in that area.
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. Like, where is Layla in her degree?
Yeah.
I know in her character stories, there's like a part that describes her finishing her first year. So she's at least in her second year.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And also, according to Layla, the Ratawist darshan, the editor of the darshan, which I don't know what that means to be an editor of the darshan, he keeps star logs. And they show you, according to her, the fate of all living beings. That's terrifying. I don't want to know. I don't want to ever be given access to that room.
I know that's a lot of power.
Yeah.
And she does say it's without a shadow of a doubt the apex of astronomical knowledge, which I'm like, do we think that Barbeloth would agree with that? And did Barbeloth go there?
That's always a question, right? Is like, if any of the Hexen Circle witches went, because we know Mona didn't go, but
Right.
Mona is still like very esteemed in astrology.
Right.
So it's a great question. And just so travelers know too, Layla is the only playable character from this Darshan that we have, but two characters that were pretty big in the Darshan, at least story-wise, that you may remember, are Kave's father, R.I.P.
Mhm.
He is dead, but he was in this Darshan. And also Hypatia. And Hypatia is the woman that we find high on incense at the start of the Sumeru Archon quest that Tignari so vigilantly defends and protects against Dottore. She basically made that mental high connection with Scaramouche, and she was trying to like be like, that's my god. And we were like, no, stop.
It's too bad none of Kave's father's peers read his fate and told him not to wander off into the desert.
Yeah.
Then maybe he'd still be alive.
I mean, I guess that goes into the whole thing of like the butterfly effect. Like, can you really mess with fate?
Yeah,
Should
yeah.
you really mess with fate? So
I'm sure they would say it's unavoidable unless you're not a part of Irminsul.
Couldn't they have at least given like Kave's mom and him like a heads up?
Maybe he knew, and that's why he left.
yeah, he's like, let me just get this over with.
Oh my god, let me get this over with the poor family.
Wasn't he really depressed right before he disappeared?
That's what they say. Check in on your loved ones, guys. Check their fates.
Yeah, see if they've recently looked at an astrolabe or a star chart.
I will not look at a star chart. I feel like if I looked at it, it would be game over. I'm just not going to do that. But this is one of the 6 Darshans. Of course, there are 5 others. You have Spatamod, which Lisa and Sino both graduated from. You have Amerta, which is the one that Tignari graduated from. You have Ravatat, which is the one that Alhaitham graduated from.
And Farazan.
And Feruzan, but she graduated many moons ago from it.
Or she's still in school. We don't know. Maybe she restarted.
I feel like she's just like a professor constantly doing projects at this rate.
Probably. Hands-on professor.
Layla says that Feruzan has a really hard time getting people to sign up for her projects.
Yeah.
I don't blame them because Feruzan is out there telling people that, like, back in her day, you had to memorize like 45 languages before you could graduate from the academia. I'd be terrified too. Is she going to try to bring those back? That's a terrible standard.
I think the Haravatat Darshan, I think we discussed this in probably the Alhaitham episode, but I don't think that Darshan's doing very well.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Because they got Feruzan back.
Because I know like other students were trying to get Farazan to switch over to, I think it might have been Kasharawar, or maybe it was Wahumana, I forget. They were trying to get her to switch to one of the other ones, and she was like, no, I will teach the Haravatat studies. And everyone's like, okay.
Which is funny because it kind of would make sense for her to switch to Kasharwar because that's the one that Kave's in. And she's like super involved with Kave. Like, I feel like she doesn't say it out loud, but Farazan loves working with Kave. Like, she likes the way that his mind works, and she's like always giving him feedback, but you know, good feedback where it's like, this is what you should do to make it better because I know you can be better. Like, I don't feel like she's like shitting on him per se.
Oh, interesting.
I feel like you really see that in the Subaru's festival, the birthday event for Nahida.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, he's great, but do these changes first because I said so and I'm your elder, so don't fucking question me.
I love that. She's like his gay diva that he looks up to.
Yes, exactly. And then our last one is Bahumana, and that is the one that Wanderer's in. And honestly, I don't ever remember what they're about because I feel like it's fake because Wanderer was kind of forced into it.
Yeah, they are, what is it? Etiology.
What the fuck is that?
It's the study of the origin of things.
Like history.
Oh, terrifying. I like that they have a puppet in that area.
Now, Wanderer did he actually go? Like, or did he implant that into his new, like, thing? Because, like, did he go as Scaramouche?
He went as Hat Boy.
But, like, he would still be in there.
Hat guy. I don't think I don't know. Maybe I'm misremembering. I don't remember him rewriting himself as a Vahumana student. I took it as like Nahida was like, you're going to school.
Yes, that's exactly how I took it too.
And he's like, I guess I'll do this one.
Nahida literally was like, you need to make friends. You need to do something with your life. I'm forcing you to go to school.
Yeah, like I guess I feel like there wasn't enough time for him to, unless he's still.
He's still in school. Oh yeah, he's still in school. He hasn't graduated.
Oh, okay, so he's like Layla then. We have another student.
Yeah, but he doesn't count.
I think he's like, what do you call it? Like when you're like auditing courses or something. I don't think he's officially enrolled, you guys.
Well, he represents them though in the Introdarshan competition.
I know, but wasn't that just kind of like they needed someone and Nahida decided, let's get Wanderer to do it? I mean, I don't know. That's the vibe I got because no one was expecting him.
Yeah, it did seem like he was thrown in there. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he was like, I guess I'll do this. But maybe he has a strong interest in the origins of things because
Oh, he do.
of, he rewrote himself in Irminsul. He has a lot of origin on the brain.
Maybe that's why he's in that. She was like, let's go. You should go in that Darshan because you just read Irminsul, so you already know everything. So Vahumana it is.
And now that he has his memories back too, he has all the abyssal stuff he's done with the Fatui, any Fatui knowledge that he already had. So I think it works for him, Mr. Hat Guy.
I think it's a good pick for him.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, enough about Skara. Those are the other Darshans. And remember that in the Academia, there's been a huge upheaval. I think only 2 sages were not kicked out to live in the woods after the Sumeru Archon quest. I believe, not all the sages have been overthrown. Naphis is still there because him and the sage of the Vahumana, Darshan, both were against turning Scaramouche into a god. And so those 2, they're still working. The others are, exiled to the forest, which to me is a big plot point that's going to come back. I just feel like they're going to attack someone. Like they're going to go to Gandharvaville and attack them.
Bunch of old, crusty old sages that had just been sitting out in the forest for years.
Crusty old sages that could make an Archon in a basement.
I mean, it didn't work, so they weren't really successful.
Without the core of 30 protecting them, they probably already got eaten by boars. or tigers or whatever.
I know. I just always think about the fact that Tinyari has to look out for them to make sure they don't cause a ruckus. And I'm like this poor soul. But yeah, so, there's a lot of change going on in the Academia currently. And the Academia has been around since before the Cataclysm. So it's a pretty old structure. Everything is pretty rigid. I'm sure there's a lot of rules. And Layla actually had a mentor that inspired her to join the Academia and leave her family life. And her main thing that she studies within her darshan is theoretical astrology. And I had to Google that because I was like, what is theoretical astrology? And long story short, it's basically the philosophies around the practice of astrology. So it's the base point of it. It's here are our theories. This is why we do this. These are the reasons why, which is pretty big. In my opinion, it's basically this is what makes a star. And they're the people who probably would have decided whether or not Pluto was a planet. And that's been changed multiple times.
Wouldn't that be astronomy, though?
But they're astrology and astronomy. They don't seem to care too much about the astronomy side of things.
Yeah, because the sky is fake.
No, I guess that's true. But yeah, they're both astrology and astronomy.
Yeah, the darshan is, yeah.
So yeah, they would have been kicking Pluto out. But theoretical astrology, they're not dealing with the actual astronomy. They're just dealing with, instead of actually making the charts, they're centered more on the idea of why you make the charts and studying the actual principles and interpretations and frameworks and stuff like that.
Everything they do is very meta. It's basically the ground floor. But she is very stressed out. But she's also known to be very good. People know that she's smart. They know that she's intelligent. She's diligent, hardworking. But if you ask Layla, she's just tired.
But if you ask her to, she does not think she is very good at nothing. She's very timid. She's very self-doubting. It's amazing sometimes when you hear when you hear people talk about her, that she's basically a genius. And she's just oh, I'm not really good. I shouldn't even be here. Let's just quit. I should just quit. I'm taking up everybody's time. I should just leave.
Yeah, she's very insecure and paranoid, which I think it's interesting because I think they are trying to show showcase like how hardcore the academia is and how stressful it is, and how, like, I know in her character stories they talk about how like there's, and I'm assuming this is from Layla's perspective, but she feels like there's two types of students at the academia. The ones who just are confident, walk through life like just knowledgeable, bold, don't seem bothered by anything. And then there's the other student who's a neurotic mess. And she definitely falls into category B. So she is just really affected by the pressure of the academia life. It affects her whole demeanor. It obviously affects her sleep, but her paranoia around it, around like not being good enough and getting things done on time, and is she doing all this right? Is she evaluating things correctly? It's made her really timid and nervous, and it's really like altered her whole demeanor. Her lore even says, should someone approach her, they will often hear her whispering things like, I don't understand, or why, and even whimpering, I'm doomed. Just hilarious. Imagine talking to someone and you're like looking them in the face and you're like, so I wanted to talk to you about this project, and they're like, why?
The doom. They just look you in the eye and go doom. And the worst part is, you know, they're an astrology person. You're like, doom? Am I dying?
Did you read that in a chart?
Yeah, like, can we get some more context, please?
But she's so smart, though, that she's outlasted several students that started with her, too. That's how, on paper, she's a star.
It's interesting because they really do showcase her dual persona with that, because even though she is like basically constantly behind because she gets paralyzed by her own indecisiveness, so she's always doing everything at the last minute, and it affects her, you know, on every level. But she's also, like you're saying, is so persevering and has this stick with itness that people that are more confident than her don't have. So there's something about her that is really strong and like will stick with it and will not ever give up, even though she's constantly living life on the verge of giving up.
Let me tell you, if I woke up and my theses were done, I too would continue on.
Yeah.
Like, so for travelers that don't know, I would say the most prominent thing in Layla's lore is that she has a shadow self. And so lots of times Layla, when she's stressed out, and it's literally, she has a voice line where she starts to like phase out and then shadow self appears.
Right in the middle of her hangout, you see it happen. She totally goes on the fritz.
And it happens a few times in like the birthday mail that you get from her too. It's like all of a sudden the shadow self Layla is writing the letter instead. But so when she falls asleep, this much more like calm, determined, like strong-willed version of Layla comes out. And one could almost argue that it's closer to the real Layla's personality if she weren't stressed out by school.
Yeah.
So her stress has caused a break in personality that has led to a shadow self that comes out and does like her homework for her at night, has been caught trying to climb the wall of Samil. Like, it's to the point that like Tinyari knows about her, and his voice line goes, I've heard of her, the famous sleepwalking eccentric. The rumors about her sleepwalking are really quite absurd. Feats of superhuman strength, sprinting through Aru village at night, scaling the wall of Samil with her bare hands. Some even say that she can write a 100,000 word thesis while asleep. What a load of nonsense. And now, I was very curious about how Tinyari knew all this, because like he's not really involved as much with the academia as others. So I almost wonder if Sino is telling him about her. Like, yeah, we got a call from Candace this week that some crazy lady was trying to climb the wall of Samil. And when we went and we investigated and talked to some other people, they said that that same person like lifted a table with one hand. Like, you know, like, I'm like, how do you know this, Tinyari?
Gossip queen.
Yeah, he so is a gossip. I mean, his husband is the head of the like police. Like, of course he knows everything. There's no secrecy in that department.
I would say, though, like her shadow self is actually a little bit it's like the equivalent of what in like our world we would consider dissociative identity disorder, which
Oh
is
yeah.
used to be called multiple personality. And, because it is her. She's aware, like the host person, it knows that they black out, but the host, like the little split kind of people know more about what's going on. And like her shadow self is very quick to say, like, don't tell her. Like she can't handle it.
Protecting her other side.
Yeah, she's protecting the host. Yeah.
Yeah, she calls her daytime. Well, I will say that Layla is definitely not aware of Shadow Self.
No, at first she thought when she realized that things were happening while she was asleep, she thought that someone might be messing with her, but she couldn't think of anyone with a motive. So then she started wondering if the heavens were sending her miracles or blessings for being so dedicated to her studies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, Layla has no clue that she exists. And it makes sense because like Tiff said, like she's straight up telling us not to tell anyone. And but I'm curious how like Layla is avoiding the rumors about herself.
Well, she hears them, and she even like in her hangout, she gets close to being like, well, maybe that is me. Like maybe that's me and I just don't know. And then she fritzes out. Like it's almost like when she gets close to understanding it, she gets too stressed out by the idea of it. And also like shadow self comes out to like be like, okay, let's clean this up. Let's not let the real Layla know
What's going on?
Yeah. But that Layla like is very much, she says like if she took care of herself, if she was healthy and she fell asleep, I'm actually Layla. Like this would be me. I only come out and do the stuff that she's actually capable of doing, that she just gets in her own way.
Right. If she wasn't plagued by insecurity and indecisiveness, this would be her. Like it's the free version of her.
Mm-hmm. And I wish that she would graduate already, so this way, when she talks to us, she could talk a little bit faster. But that's a selfish wish.
I love it that the sleepwalker persona, it also does her housework and stuff for her.
Yeah. It does her laundry.
It waters her flowers.
Mm-hmm.
It fixes her broken camera.
And then like, we'll get into her hangout later, but like then goes and does shit for other people too. Like, oh, I got more time. Let me go do this other stuff and be like a hero amongst all the people in Sumeru City. Like it's bonkers.
Don't you wish that like the sleepwalker persona had the ability to just go to sleep?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that's the best way you could help her is just go to sleep.
It would fix so much.
I feel like the sleepwalker persona like is so happy to help. It's such like it's almost like a Toma, it's like a fixer.
I think she should use her powers to make Mora so she can afford the sleepy gummies. Did y'all see the line about that? It's like, so someone in Sumeru is selling weed gummies.
You know who that is. It's
and it's
Tignari.
200,000 Mora. I would like when I saw the price.
I thought it was Dory.
Yeah.
I was like, that's Dory. She's totally a dealer.
I thought it was Dory at first. In all honesty, it probably is Dory because she actually has a voice line about Dory where she's like, Dory, like I bought something from her once and it was a ton of money and I used my scholarship money to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And now Dory thinks I'm rich. And she keeps like sending me ads basically being like, hey, you want to buy this? You want to buy this? And she's like, no, Dory.
Gummies.
Yeah, but I feel like that's totally how the forest rangers are making cash. They're selling weed gummies.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that.
Importing them straight from Kazuha.
And via Beto.
Via Beto, yeah.
Just like, I arrived with my new shipment.
Which, just as a little side note, I finally started doing Imaginarium, finally. Mm-hmm. And I was like looking at all the little, like, the little poses, the thematic poses that you can get. And doesn't Kazuha's totally look like he's rolling a joint? It totally looks like he's licking the ends of the roll.
Oh, yeah. Because he's probably licking that, like about to blow on the leaf, right?
Yeah. He's rolling a doobie.
He's playing a musical instrument, Tim.
Yeah, called ganja.
Yeah, I will say, Brandon, you missed it. I hosted an Imaginarium theater class. last weekend, and the whole time I went, everything I've learned is from Brandon. I was like, so I didn't learn any of this on my own. I was like, according to Brandon, this is what we should be doing.
I just did it earlier today and I got 800 primos.
Nice. I can't win the normal mode.
I started the visionary mode and I didn't look ahead. And so I didn't see that the last boss was someone you needed Night Soul for.
Oh,
and
yeah,
so
I
I
hate
had
that.
no Night Soul characters when I got there. And Tiff was there for I was like, fuck. I couldn't do it.
I got really lucky because I got a mystery cache thing. And it resurrected one of my characters that was already used up. And it just happened to be Varessa. So
Oh, nice.
I will say, though, after I kept failing Imaginarium, and then I did get to 11-3 in Abyss. I was on a Primo. I needed the Primos, and it did work. I did get Engulfing Lightning. It worked.
Yay.
It all worked out.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But then I worked on making my characters better because I was like, I think I'm struggling because I really need to put some more into their actual work. And I'm going to pat myself on the back and say that it worked because MJ from our Discord said that they got through the final part of the hard version of Imaginarium with my Shenhe.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
nice.
And that was my brand new Shenhe.
That's fantastic. I used Vanessa, occasional guest host on this podcast. I used her right at Shogun because she just got her to C6.
Mine C6 too.
Did you have her up?
I don't know if she's in. I think she's in there.
I think you had, because I almost used your Shenhe.
Ah,
But I didn't notice. I guess I didn't notice your write-in, and I remember Vanessa celebrating.
yeah, she just did it. Yeah,
yeah.
That's why I was actually one of the reasons why I was working on Shenhe is because now that she has the catch, which was on my write-in, but now she's got her signature.
Nice.
Every time I do Imaginarium, I've been using Brandon Shangli.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, every time.
Not Nuvi?
No, I know. I'm probably
I just assume
failing
everyone
a
will
little
use
bit.
Nuvi.
No, because I've been in my Geo. You know me and my Geos. I'm like, Shangli.
I use your Xingqiu, so
Mine?
yeah.
My baby. Use Albedo.
My Albedo's well, I did at one point. I did use your Albedo at one point, but my Albedo's is pretty good. And I used your Tanyari too, because I know that you worked on him a lot.
I'm still
and my
working on
Nuvi's
him.
not as good as Brandon's, and I should actually use his because I've been using mine, and he's good, but maybe that's the extra punch I need.
I'm gonna just borrow someone's fucking Night Soul character next time.
My Varessa's in there if you want to use her. She's good.
Oh, I might use your Varessa next time because I think I could get away without Zhongli. But anyway, we digress out of Imaginarium Theater, which we called Imaginarium University. So similar to the Academia, but in a private Discord server. So we keep skirting around Layla's hangout, and I think a lot of important information about the shadowself and her family and everything comes out during this time. So maybe we take a look at the hangout quest that you can't do late at night because you fall asleep.
Don't do it late at night. Whatever you do, please don't do it late at night. Ugh. I have to admit, I did not do her hangout prior to getting ready for this episode. So as much as I love the hangouts and I love getting all the little pictures, I don't know. I just forget to go back to them, I think.
Yeah, it's easy to forget.
But I've really been enjoying it as we've been talking about, we went through Bennett's, and with the Toma one too. And I was like, oh, these are a lot of fun. And I started with Layla and I picked the longest route to start. And I was just like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
This is where we're starting.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God.
I feel like her hangout, one thing I will say in favor of it is that it feels more linear than a lot of them. Did you get that sense of
yeah.
Because I feel like it has less branches, or that the branches don't stray as far from a main storyline, because it's the main storyline at the center of it is this wisdom Sealy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it all kind of follows it, and I feel like it just explains her shadow self a little bit more. But also, obviously it teaches you a lot about her in general, but
Oh yeah, we find out so much about her childhood.
we do?
I mean, maybe not so much, but
I'm
we
like,
find out
I wouldn't put so much. We found out that she had a childhood.
she had a very good childhood. It jumped out at me because I'm like, okay, non-orphan alert.
Yeah. But we never heard about a father though, right? Just a mother.
Well, she mentions her parents, but I don't think it confirms that they are still alive. I think there's some context clues that could lead you to believe that they are. She
Yeah.
says specifically about her childhood, she says, fresh food is the best. I feel like I've traveled back in time. We all used to run around in the woods when we were kids. Trees and mud was the world we knew best. It doesn't matter how long I'm away from the forest, I won't ever forget the feeling of running through the trees. And then later, she says one that's really among my childhood friends, I was considered one of the more athletic ones. Another one, she says, everything at home is filled with purity and passion. My memories of that place are wonderful. I never want to forget them. Another part, that's why no matter how tiring or hard it gets, I won't let my family down. They are already an important part of me. And then in her character stories, when it talks about her photo book that she keeps on her desk, she mentions her parents in that because there are pictures of her parents in it. And then she also mentions in her hangout that her family owns sumpter beasts. She said, I've even considered giving up my studies completely and returning home to help care for the sumpter beasts, but that would be kind of embarrassing. So I didn't see anywhere where it confirms like she talked to her parents, yesterday or something.
She does say that it's been a while since she's been back there and that she really should go visit. But she seems to also include her friends as a part of her family as well. And she says that, she had friends. I was like, oh, Layla had friends.
She doesn't anymore, but she did. She did before school.
Yeah, all of them lived back in her unnamed village. She was the only one, though, who made it into the academia. So she was the smarty pants.
It's so refreshing to read about a character that had a nice childhood because so many of the characters in this game have the most traumatic, fucked up experiences in their childhood.
One thing that was different too with this hangout was that we had a little stress meter up in the corner.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it tells you in the beginning, like, hey, you may want to pay attention to which answers you pick because if Layla gets really stressed, things are going to happen.
It's just like me in real life.
Yeah.
I have a stress meter at my desk at work, and I just go read fan fiction in the bathroom for 10 minutes when it gets too high.
But this one starts out, though, we go visit her at the academia. She's just hanging out by the fountain and, she starts talking to us, but then tells us she has no time to talk to us. We're like, oh, well, what's wrong? Why are you all like crazy? And she's like, oh, she basically says, my thesis is just shit. I can't do it. I'm not good. I shouldn't have even tried. And that's when she starts on her whole, like, she should quit. And she hasn't slept for days. And just thinking about her thesis keeps her up.
Anyone who's ever been in school felt her in that moment.
Have you ever been awake for 24 hours for a class?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I remember actually being up finishing my final project for one of my classes. My friend sitting next to me in the class had to keep poking me to make sure I stayed awake because I kept dozing out because I was up for so long working on it.
I remember studying for a final and staying up way too late to study for it, to cram. And then I slept in the next morning and
did you miss it?
I didn't miss it, but I was already half an hour late or something. And then I got a speeding ticket on my way.
Oh, no.
There, which made me even more late. And so I had to rush through the exam because most of the students were done with theirs by the time I got there.
No.
And I had to speed through it and I got not a very good grade. So that's my Layla story.
Do you have one fiends?
No, I had very strict rules on myself in college. I strict rules. It was called the 2 a.m. rule. After I spent too many all-nighters, I had a rule that I had to be to bed by 2 a.m. For fun, I could stay up later. But when I set this deadline of 2 a.m. for myself, it actually inspired me to do stuff earlier. And it was like I was setting a deadline for myself. But I had to. I took 21 credits every semester. I really crammed a lot. So I had to be regimented in that sense. So I wouldn't be Layla. But no, I've never done anything like that. I'm sorry. I'm a nerd.
I also stayed up one night drinking the whole night and then tried to go in TA class in the morning, and it wasn't good.
Oh no.
That didn't work out really well at all. I think I had 45 minutes of sleep, and I don't know how I walked myself to the class. Well, the other thing that Layla continues on to tell us too is that she definitely would have been booted out of school had somebody not been helping her. And we're like, well, what do you mean? Like somebody's helping you, like a friend? She's like, it sounds really weird, but I don't actually know who's helping me. I get really stressed out and I get dizzy and I faint. And when I wake up, all my stuff's done. That's not safe for one thing. Like we all know what college life is like. We all know what college is, at least in America. You don't want to be just fainting anywhere, girl.
Yeah. You're like, is someone roofing you?
Yeah,
the
what's
hell?
happening?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so she says like that, and that's what she even tells us, like, and then they do my laundry too. Like, it's really weird. And she's like, I just don't really know what's going on, but I just call it the blessing from the stars. She's like, I think that, this phenomenon is just there to help me, and I need it, and I need to keep going, and that's the only reason I'm getting through school. So, I'm only going to look into it far enough to know that it's working, but it's like my little secret.
And we're like, there is someone living in your walls.
The best is though, she's like, while this is my own personal, like, servant, educational servant, I can't rely on it. Like, I don't know if it's just not going to work. So there's this other legend called the Wisdom Sealy that I think I need to like put some of my eggs in that basket too.
I'm like, girl, what?
One mysterious phenomenon's not enough. We need two. So she explains to us that you need to just write down what questions or whatever you need for the Sealy, and if the Sealy is feeling helpful, it'll give you an answer. But if it's not feeling helpful, it'll actually play a trick on you.
Rude.
Yeah, I was like, what kind? Like, just it's just in a bad mood. Like, I really was very interested in what the tricks were going to end up being, which we do find out later. But she says, I'm going to have to try my luck with this because I don't know what's going to happen. So at this point, this is where we have one of our first little separations, is we can tell her that we're going to help her. That was the first thing I did. I don't know about you guys. Like, I was like, okay, well, we're here. It's what we do. We'll help you figure out the Wisdom Sealy.
Oh, yeah. I was immediately like, wait, Sealy lore? Absolutely. I'm going with you.
Yeah.
Were you slightly disappointed?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we go over with her to the house of Deanna.
AKA the library.
Yeah, the library. But
Such
they
a
always
fancy
refer
name.
to the house of Dana.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Deanna. I don't know if you guys watch Walking Dead, like the show part.
Mhm.
There's a line when the one character they get into this new settlement and they're like, well, we have to check with Deanna, and the guy's just like, who's Deanna? And it's so random, but it was so like it did not need to be that like intense, and it became like a meme for a while. So every time I read House of Dana, I think of that. Who's Deanna?
It's like Layla screaming on a clifftop leader.
Yes. So she's like, hey, let's go see if anybody knows about the Sealy and what we need to do to like get the Sealy to do my homework for me and finish out my thesis. So we go and we talk to somebody. We're just randomly going to bother people basically in the library. And we talk to Rabba, and he's like, oh yeah. He's like, I tested it out with a question about the brightness of stars because I wanted to see, like, I didn't need the Wisdom Sealy because I'm really, really smart and stuff, but I just needed to see what was going on. Pretentious little prick.
Yeah, what a dick.
Yeah. We always got dicks going on this freaking all these like story quests.
Woo!
Well, so 2 days later, he's like, he got 2 pages full of detailed and accurate info. So he was like, okay, lit. So he's like, let me try this again. And he submitted another question, but he hadn't gotten an answer yet. So she's like, well, I don't have the time to like wait 2 days. Like, I need to know right away. Because if there's something that you really want to be ungrateful for, it's somebody else writing your thesis. I was like, calm it down, Layla. You want help or no?
Right.
So he tells us that we have to go over to a bookshelf and find a book that's either the theoretical astrology book or a quick reference guide to astrology cases. And then we just have to write out our letter and stick it in one of those books and come back and see if the Wisdom Sealy decides to help us out. So he says that, you'll know if the Wisdom Sealy helped because there'll be a red stamp on your letter. So we go over, she does this and she's like, okay. She's like, let's see what happens. And the next day there's a red stamp. But the response is like, I really don't think it's right that you're asking me to finish your thesis.
It's like, shame on
Yeah.
you.
It was like the lady in Game of Thrones, shame with the bell.
Yeah.
And it's like, Wisdom Sealy is all like, I think like theses are supposed to be like independent thought. And it's a critical portion of your thesis that you're asking me to do. And, that's just not right. But I will help you. But there's a lot of buts in this. I'm going to help you, but you're going to have to go on the scavenger hunt. I've given you hints to find the answers because that's at least the payment that I deserve for giving you the answers that you need. Like, okay. So now she's just like all stressed out. Like she feels guilty. She's like, oh my God, no, I'm making somebody else do my work for me. So we're like, okay, we'll help you with your answer. Like we'll help you find it. You're not on this on your own. So we go, the clues talks about like a child and a road of wisdom. And it's all like very vague and like theoretical, go figure, theoretical astrology. There was a theoretical question. And she's able to deduce that basically it's saying, the child is fear itself and you need to decide to, on this road of what you're going to do. She compares it to when she actually left her village to go to the school. And she was on her route to the city itself. So she's like, I think we should go to that place. And like, we're a little bit like, you think this is going to be like specifically about you? And she's like, yeah, let's just go do that. So we head out over there and she's right. There is another little area outside of the city. She talks about how long it's been since she's been home. And she just says how like she was mesmerized when she was standing there looking at the city for the first time and how it was so awe-inspiring. But then she stepped on a leopard's tail and then she woke up a bunch of leopards and they were all following her and an Emerite had to come and help her because she was being chased by leopards. But when she calmed down, she noticed that her talisman that her mother made for her was missing. And ever since then, that's when her sleeping problems started. But I'll tell you, when I watched this, and it's voiced, so I didn't just have to read it. I read it as lizards. And all I could picture was a little lizard losing its tail as she stepped on it, and then a bunch of other lizards going over and snapping at her and trying to bite her, and her running away from lizards. And I'm going to tell you, it's much more funny that way.
Yeah, that would be really fun.
Just a bunch of little lizards like...
And she's like, holy shit.
Like, I'll just step on them. But yeah, no, they were leopards.
And didn't she already have her vision at this point? She just didn't know how to use it, really?
Yes, she did. Yeah. And the next part of it is kind of goes into that. So we go looking for this other clue around there, and she kind of realizes it's where this incident occurred. And it takes us to like, another spot that's near a waterfall on a bridge. She basically had to take all this equipment with her and go out to this bridge and take data, and she fell in the mud and she had a minor fracture. She broke all the equipment. She had to get a part-time job. She had to make up the money for the equipment because she had even less sleep now. So it's kind of all making sense why she split.
Yeah.
So, but she's like, she didn't want her family to know. So she was kind of dealing with like those high expectations. She didn't want them to know. So she just worked her ass off and got the money. So now we go on to another place that has another personal thing to her. And she's like, I don't know if it's following a timeline or it's just like the amount of regret I have, because this is a very, very regretful scenario for her. It was another time that she was doing research, and as soon as she set up all of her equipment, she heard a noise. And she goes and looks, and it's a bunch of bandits robbing someone. She already had her vision, but she had no idea how to use it. So she was like, I don't know what to do. So I ran away. I found some adventurers and we returned. But by the time we got here, they were all gone. So she's like, I can't believe, like, in the face of this challenge, I ran away.
No.
Mm-hmm. It's so sad. She's like, I don't know. It really, like, that made me feel bad. I'm like, she had the ability to do it,
She just never has time to learn how to use her vision.
So one of our little decisions that we do here to spin off into a little side thing, and like Brandon said before, it doesn't go into a big thing. But if you say, like, you know what, I think you just need some rest. Like, this is getting a little ridiculous. And we go and find a place to rest. And she apologizes to us that we're taking all this time to do all this stuff for her. She's like, oh my God, there's something here. And it's all these monsters and we have to go fight monsters. And it's like, okay. Now I would assume that like if you did go this route, it then picks back up into it. Doesn't make you redo it all. But I think like the story continues and that same kind of thing, like the monsters fighting all the hilly trolls wasn't the end of it. So the next clue that we get is a picture of a house. And she's like, oh, that looks like one that's over in Vimara Village. But she's like, I've only been there once, but this looks really familiar. So we're like, okay. So we go over to Vimara Village and we go knock on a door. She's like, this is the house in the picture. This dude, Mundir, opens the door and he's just like, oh, hey, it's so nice to see you again. And like, thanks for stopping by. And she is confused as hell. She's just like, I don't know why he knows me. Like, he shouldn't know me. She knows who he is, but he shouldn't know her. And we're like, well, what do you mean? She's like, he's one of the people that were getting robbed. But like, there's no way, like, he wouldn't have seen me. And when I came back, they were gone. He's like, well, yeah, I know. You told me that. She's just like, excuse me? What do you mean I told you that? He's like, yeah, you told me that, like, that you heard what was going on and you went and got help. He's like, and in that situation, he's like, we heard like some people approaching and the treasure hoarders got really scared and they ran off. And he's like, they didn't even take any of our stuff. But we were like, so like, he's like, I was so worried. I just grabbed my kid and my wife and we left.
Can you just imagine how confused Layla is in this moment? What?
I did what? And he's like, yeah. He's like, you were so level-headed and you made the right decision in the moment. You went and got help. Like that was what we needed. And into her, so for her, here she is like racked by guilt that she thinks that she just like left these people to be murdered.
Which like she technically did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Daylight did.
Yeah. But to him, he was just like, yeah, that was the thing you needed to do. So she's like, well, when did I tell you all this? He's like, oh, it wasn't that long ago. He's like, you came by. You told us. You even had dinner with us. You were playing with our son. He's like, oh, man. He's like, I really wish we took a picture. He's like, because then we'd know. He's like, but you left a package here. And he's like, you'll definitely remember it. Let me go get it. Which I'm at first like, so you kept it? You knew that she left a package and you were like, hey, I'll just keep this because, you know, I can't walk over to the Sumeru city and give it to the girl. Whatever. It turns out that he knew he needed to save it to give back to her. She opens it up and it's her mom's talisman. And she's just like, oh my God, but I lost this. And like, what is this even doing here? And then there's a letter and it's addressed to her. And at first we're like, do you leave notes to yourself, addressed to yourself all the time? And she's like, no, I don't do that.
That would be crazy.
That would be insane. What kind of normal person would do that? And then like so she reads it and it's a letter from the Wisdom Sealy saying like, I'm so glad that you came back here and had the courage to do this. And I think that you're going to be fine. And here's all the notes for your thesis.
I'd be like, wow.
Oh, okay. And like, we're like, do you think maybe this Wisdom Sealy is you? And that's when she's like, I don't think so, but you know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, she's like, I mean, there's rumors that I sleepwalk a lot, but you know. And then Mundir's like, you know what? Come inside, have a cup of tea, have some dinner.
Okay, Risley. Thanks.
You know what's funny? In my mind, I saw the little worm from Labyrinth. Come inside, meet the missus, have a cup of tea.
Oh my
There was
God,
to watch
you and
Labyrinth?
Labyrinth. No.
I love Labyrinth. It's the cutest little fucking worm. He's sitting on a brick. And he's like, you know, trying to tell her not to go to the center of the labyrinth.
Does she listen?
No, she's like, I need to. And then she goes, well, okay, well, which way, you know, well, he just tells her she shouldn't be in the labyrinth. It's not just to get to the middle. And then she's like, okay, but I don't know which way to go. And he teaches her how to do it. And then she goes one way and she goes up. He's like, don't go that way. You might want to go the other way. And he's like, later on, he's like, that would have taken her right to the center, which was where she wanted to go the whole fucking time.
What a little asshole.
If you just asked, what are you trying to do? Because she just said that she was trying to get through the labyrinth. She didn't say she was trying to go to the center of the labyrinth. It's very important the way you say things. That's what I learned when I watched Labyrinth as a child.
Uh-huh. It taught you a valuable lesson.
Mm-hmm. That and I fell in love with David Bowie. You know, as probably a bunch of other like little children who probably shouldn't have been watching the movie were just like, oh my God, Do I like boys? I like boys. I fucking like boys. I like boys that look like girls.
Yeah.
Should have fucking known back then. So our other option, though, that we had when we said we were going to go help her, the other option is we could have said, think that the wisdom seal is fucking with you. And I don't think that they think this is a waste of your time. You need to just go and figure shit out. Like this isn't worth going down this rabbit hole. So we decided that we need to figure out who the wisdom seal is and that we should probably check out who's been checking out the books, because that would be a good indication of who is, writing up everything inside these books, especially if it's these two. And the stamp is like a Ritaoist emblem. So she's like, that could be anybody.
Avi's dead.
So we talked to Kata Ewan, who, and I'm probably not saying that right, but I called her Katie. We talked to Katie. She's just like, well, a lot of people take out these books. Like, that's all over Taoist. It's going to be next to impossible for you to figure out who was doing that. Maybe if you find like a book that's less taken out, like then you could figure it out. And I'm like, that doesn't really help, but okay. Like, we're just going to pick another one. So then we go and talk to somebody else, Latifa.
Ooh.
And not Queen. That would have been even better. So she goes on to tell us that, that there's this legend of the wisdom seal of like strength and athleticism, and that, there have been sightings over by the cave and the Avidia forest and over by the waterfall and all this stuff, but like nobody's really seen, nobody knows who it is. So like, okay, we go talk to somebody else. And this is also another one who's just like, I'm also too good to have gone and looked through this book thing. Like, I can do my own work myself. He's probably more of an arrogant prick than the other guy. But he tells us that one night he was in the library real late and a black shadow dropped from the ceiling. And he's like, and it was super quick and it circled him. And then he fainted. He's like, I don't know what it did to me, but it was really quick. And she's just like, why didn't it just come in through the door? And he's like, the doors were locked. And she's like, but how are you in here then? He's like, well, like everybody, I hid in one of those little places that nobody goes and looks at. So this way I could stay really late and read. I feel like the other kids, or at least the kids who are about to get kicked out of the academia, they weren't hiding in there just as they could stay up and read late. We all know what they were doing.
Oh no. Not while they're on the verge of getting kicked out.
Well, you get kicked out anyway. You might as well have some fun.
College students.
You can see what me and Brandon's college life was like. We're like, oh yeah, I totally would have hid there just to have been drinking and whatever. So, we go and try and figure out some like I literally in my notes wrote some other boring ass deductions. Because now when it's all sleepy and tiresome, you then have to go through that little bubble thing of like what's related to this and this and this. And it's my least favorite way of figuring stuff out in the game. I know that a lot of people really like it because you're like being like a little detective, but to me it's painful.
Yeah, I don't like it either. I never fully understand the mechanics. I never do it right. I'm like, wait, so then I click here and then I click over here if I think it's that, and then I'm always clicking the wrong thing. And then I end up just mashing all the buttons until it tells me the answer.
Yeah, I get that.
That is exactly what I do. So we figure that the thing we should do is go to like the next astronomical event, because that seems to be a thing. Something to do with, going down to about all the equipment and everything like that. We figure it's got to be something with this. So we go to one of those, those like tall hut things that are all throughout Sumeru that you have to go to and like shine a light into different places to like get a quest done. It's one of those big dudes. So we have to go hang out in one of those because we're like, this is definitely going to be where they're going to show up. So we spend the whole night there. We're like, do you want to take a nap? But nobody shows up. So this is at the point where we're like, well, if nobody showed up, and this is where you said the wisdom sealy should be, are you sure you're not the wisdom sealy? And then she's like, well, the wisdom sealy and my blessing, which is what she calls her shadow self, they could be the same person. They could both be me. She's like, I don't know. I don't even know how to figure it out. I don't see any of it happening. How am I supposed to know?
Right.
And we're like, aren't you supposed to be smart?
Yeah.
Put the clues together.
And this, as you can imagine, stresses her the fuck out. And bam, we get to see the other Layla. So at this point, that other Layla is just like, we can see it. Like there is just, we see her a little dizzy, and then all of a sudden she speaks eloquently and confident. And she is just like, I know everything. And we're like, so you're the wisdom sealer, right? Like you've been doing everything. And she goes on to explain to us basically that, like we mentioned before, she is the real Layla and she's just helping out the daytime Layla because she's a mess. But then please don't tell her. So we're like, okay, that's the end of that branch. One of the other things that we could have branched off with early on when we either say we're going to go help her or that we say that the thing is messing with her is that we could say that she doesn't have time to go looking at these silly legends.
Don't you have a thesis to write?
Yeah. She's like, you should just go rest. And she finally agrees. So we go over to this cafe and one of her classmates, who guess what? It's a fucking dick, comes over.
Woo.
So she comes and says hi, and she's just like, we're all celebrating here, do it with our thesis. We all submitted it, and you probably like did yours ages ago. And Layla's like, but I haven't even submitted it yet. I should leave. And she just goes on like that, like, Layla really should be like, she never hangs out with us. She never helps us. Not that we need her to help us, but like she's really smart and it would be nice if she helped us, but she never does.
All right. Do your own work.
And we're like, that's exactly what Traveler's like. Maybe you should mind your fucking business. Leave Layla
alone. Actual dialogue.
Actual dialogue. Yeah, it's crazy. So Munira is the classmate. She's just like, well, I'm not going to argue about this. But then she has to throw in a few jabs too. Like, if you think that it's right that she doesn't help out her classmates. And Layla's so happy that we stood up for her, and she's just like, oh my God, thank you. I can't tell people about my blessing because, I get fucking kicked out. Like there's somebody else like helping me. So we're like, it's okay. We're your friend. So of course we're going to help you. We offer to help finish up her thesis with her. But if we don't do that part and we tell her again that she needs to go relax, we suggest that she go sightseeing to a quiet place. We take her to a cave, because that's where you go. And like she talks about when she was a kid and picking up berries with her friends and having these grilled apples and how they tasted so great. And because, she's really tired, we decide that she should make us these fucking grilled apples because they sound delicious.
Yeah, why don't you cook for me?
I was like, Traveler, could you let her rest? So we have to go get firewood. We go for a walk. We go for a swim in the lake. Again, girl's gonna fucking drown because she's so tired. And Traveler's just like, let's just keep doing it. Hey, you know what? There's a mountain over there. Let's go climb it. I was like, are we trying to kill her? Really? Like, we don't want to help with the thesis, so die. So we're like, okay. And she's just like, oh, we should just stay up here and look at the stars, but we'll have to wait here a while because, it's still light out. But this reminds me of what I would always do. Like, I'd always just stare up at the stars. And that's how I knew I should be doing this, and I shouldn't be a Sumpter Beast person. What she does say at one point, when she talks about the Sumpter Beast, she does say that she doesn't think that it would necessarily be embarrassing because it's embarrassing to be raising Sumpter Beasts. She thinks it would be embarrassing if she left the academia to go back to raise Sumpter Beasts. So she's like, no shame on them, but I can't do that. And that's where that little ending goes. But if we do help her, like we say we're going to, when the jerky friend is there, we say, okay, we're going to help you. And she's like, we need to gather some more data. Like, that's what I need to finish out this stuff. So she's like, but I need this equipment. And I was supposed to use this, like the Ratawa stuff, but so many people needed to use it that I didn't get really my turn because then I felt bad because then I couldn't figure it out. And, I just never got to do it. So we're like, oh, we got you. Let's go to Catherine. And she's just like, what? We're in the Adventurers Guild. Catherine's hooked up. She knows everybody. She's going to have exactly what you need. And what do you think? Catherine comes through.
I thought you were going to say she had no fucking idea.
Yeah. She says that while she doesn't personally have the equipment that we're looking for, she does say that there was a gentleman that they did a commission for who was an astronomy enthusiast. And he said he was so happy that the guild helped him that he said, if anybody ever needs anything, please, I will help. So she gives us a Zam's address, just hands out an address, and we go to a strange man. This is how you know, like, this is not happening in our world.
I don't know. It's like going to Facebook Marketplace houses. We do it.
And you know what? You got a point there.
I almost bought a Chili's bar stool this weekend.
Oh, you didn't get it.
He never got back to me.
Oh,
Jerk.
such a bummer. Well, yeah, so Catherine's our Facebook Marketplace. She handed out his address. So we went to go see Azam. He says, oh, I have that device that you need, but look at you. You're not a real student. I think, and because, you know, somebody else would want this crazy instrument that he's all worried that they're going to like take it and play with it and break it. It's like, Azam, calm it down. You and your astronomy enthusiast.
Also, how rude. Like, what do you mean I don't look like a student? Do I need bigger bags under my eyes?
Yeah. The best is I started shading Azam and his astronomy enthusiasm, but I'm getting up at 1:30 in the morning to go see a celestial thing happening tonight. So, you know, I am Azam. I just don't have the expensive equipment. So he's just like, I'll give you this really cool thing, and it's a globe. It's this high precision celestial globe that he is just like in this tiny little corner like stall, and then randomly there's this giant globe that shows up. It's beautiful, and it's like, you didn't notice it when we walked up that they had it? It's right there. One of those things. I was, watching this at night, doing this at night. I got so sassy at everything that was going on. And, you know, he's like, I want you to tell me, like, what you need this for, and then I'm going to ask you questions and you got to answer. And we're like, go ahead. Just do it. You need the thing. Prove that you're actually a researcher. And, you know, she tells him that she's looking into this astral shift, and he asks her some questions. And then he's like, well, you're definitely after like a couple minutes, he's like, oh yeah, I believe you 100%. Here, have my stuff, make sure that you bring it back. And then, you know, all will be well. Like, that's fine. Just don't break it. So we're like, cool. So we head back over to the house of Dana, and now she needs to work on her thesis defense. So we ask her all these questions and stuff like that, and she thinks she needs more practice. But we're like, hey, your logic is sound. Like, you got this, girl. You know, she's just like, okay, that's really great. And now maybe one day I'll figure out my blessing better. And it's end scene. Like, okay, thanks. It's a very, like, it needed more. As much as I was like, I'm glad this is done, I was like, really? That's it? She gonna hand it in? Can we at least find out? But the other option to when Azam is asking us questions is we say to her, like, you know, you need to do this and you need to be good at this because he's not going to trust us. And guess what that does? Stresses her the fuck out. And guess who shows up?
Shadowself.
Shadowself. And we're like, okay, like, we see that there's a difference. And we're like, Shadowself is like, what's this globe? And what am I trying to do? And we're like, why are you asking this if you were actually the person? You're not really the person. We know that you're not Layla. And then it goes through the whole thing, like, but like, it's kind of like the opposite where daytime Layla was like stumbling over her words and like the dude was asking these questions and stuff like that. In this version of it, like, she's just like, I know everything. And it's this like highbrow, like, conversation. So you really see the difference between them. So we're like, okay, that's great. And Shadowself, Layla's like, so we're supposed to go now? Like, what were we doing? And we're like, see, you're not Layla. She fesses up to us and says, like, you know, the original Layla basically is like frazzled to all hell. Same thing like we've been saying, you know, and she comes out to help and that, you know, it's fine. This Layla, though, gives us notes and says, okay, don't tell her who I am, but here are some notes and some questions to ask her for her defense of her thesis. That's going to help her know a lot and be ready for this. So that's why we knew in the other story how to help. I was like, aha, you do it out of order is like a little bit. Now I get it. Because I was like, why do we know all this stuff about astronomy? This is why. So, and she's like, you know, don't tell her she's fragile. She overanalyzes and thinks about everything. She thinks she's unworthy, but like, I'm real Layla. Just, you'll find me out eventually. And that's the end of that story. So that kind of wraps up the whole hangout. The short of it is Layla is the wisdom Sealy.
I love that. Shadowself is wisdom Sealy, and therefore anyone with elf ears is a Sealy descendant. That's what I got.
Yeah, I'd say that's really close.
But she still doesn't know.
She doesn't actually know.
Yeah.
Every time she gets close to it, she freaks out. And we can only assume that when she comes to, she has forgotten what we were even talking about.
Right.
And not because she's like the shadow self, but because like it's probably a defense mechanism that like, please don't tell this to me again. I'm going to freak out. And her psyche is like, we're going to hide this.
Right, right, right.
Which, like, that's so interesting that, like, that the thought of her having a shadow self is what's gonna break her, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, she'd rather think that she's blessed or cursed than think that she could be it, that it could be her, right?
Yeah.
It's better off that it's some phenomenon than it being her.
Which I'm like, no, girl, you're cool. Like, and I feel like that's a lot of our hangouts with Layla is like trying to convince Layla that Layla is cool.
Yeah.
Like, whenever we run into her in events and stuff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like the Darshan contest event.
Yeah. So Layla appears in a lot of events, but that's probably the first event that she shows up in is the Inter-Darshan Championship.
Mm-hmm.
And she's the representative for the Ratanoists. She battles it out in that an epic cutscene with Kaveh, Tinyari, Sino, Wanderer. It actually is like, what are we doing with her? Like, this poor girl.
Yeah, she just wanted to take a nap, really. She gets through the first thing because she buddies up with some people for help. But then, like, in the second act of it, she needs to go take a rest because why she's in the championship, somebody needs to let her sleep. She goes back to a fucking cave and she gets overwhelmed. And, like, Tinyari's just like, it's okay, you're fantastic. You are good. You can figure this shit out. She's just like, yeah. And then, like, she gets, like, almost the confidence and then fucking falls asleep.
My favorite part about that too isn't like that's right before Tinyari like is overstimulated and dehydrated from his happenings in the desert. And when Sino and Wanderer kind of convinced Tinyari to stop and to go back and to drop out of this portion. And doesn't Sino run to Layla and basically be like, he's dead? And Tinyari's like, I'm right here. And poor Layla's probably like, he told me I was amazing and fabulous and now he's dead?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Like, did I kill him? Like, I just imagine that being her thought process.
Yeah. Yeah, like, well, she goes and takes a little nap and the shadow self, Layla, shows up and actually figures out the next part of the little championship thing. She deactivates the leyline disruptor.
Nice. I would like to do that.
Yeah. She doesn't win in the end. Spoiler alert. If you haven't done the event, A Parade of Providence, you can't because it's over.
I was gonna say, you fuck.
You could watch it on YouTube. We talk about it in our Kaveh and our Al-Haytham episodes.
And I think it might even be mentioned in Tinyari's. I don't know if it was out when we talked about Sino.
Yeah. It was definitely in the Al-Haytham and Kaveh. Definitely
Yeah.
Kaveh. It's very important in Kaveh's lore. But we go into a little bit more. That's the Darshan event.
And so the Darshan event was probably the first big event that we get to see Layla in. But the next biggest one is the Fabulous Fungus Frenzy, which is basically the Pokemon event, but pre-Saurian Pokemon event, where you get to go around and basically fight people and their fungi, and they're raising the fungi and all this stuff. And there's a lot of drama in it because there's this one character who's really not in it for the greater good. Her goal is basically that she's going to destroy all fungi at the end, including her partner, which is just wild. But Layla's actually the first Pokemon trainer we run into, and I believe this is one of the first possible canonic times for you to meet Layla. She is training her fungi, Twirly Whirly, not to be confused with ours, Bongo Head.
I love these names.
And we end up introducing Layla with Yaimiko because Yaimiko is also there participating as a Pokemon trainer. And they become pretty buddy-buddy, which is interesting. And it's interesting because every time you talk to Layla, she's really looking at things from like a different perspective because she's not used to working with beings like this. This isn't her forte of science, so to speak. And so there's like, at first she's like trying to figure out if the fungi can tame themselves. And so she just lets her guy go, turning off the mechanism that's supposed to be helping you control them. And he actually roams and doesn't hurt anyone. And so Layla's like, oh, these guys can be trained. That's really cool. And later on, she decides to write a letter to like the Emerta, Darshan, because she wants to find out what fungi I like to eat. She also talks to the almighty merchant, which is Dory, and we talk to Dory with her to get some information. And we actually get to fight against Layla too, and we beat her. But it's a pretty simple event, but it's pretty interesting because you kind of see the sleepy, normal Layla trying to participate in something outside of academics. The next time you can possibly see Layla is during the Receiver of Friends from Afar event. This was the post-Lantern Rite event in Liyue, where the chef at Wangshu Inn gets hurt, and we decide to fill in for him and help him. And, you kind of randomly get people who stop by. I know Linny, Lynette, and Fremine stop by as well at one point, but Layla arrives with Farazan and Dory, and we find out that Layla and Farazan are basically helping Dory test out some sort of equipment. She says that they were hired to fine-tune a compass and other equipment and sailed around the Sea of Clouds all of last night. So she's pretty fucking tired, as per usual. And Dory's like, yeah, that's why we're hungry. And Layla looks like she's so hungry she could faint. And Layla's like, I don't look like I could faint because of hunger, okay? It's because of other things. And we're like, all right. And then later on, after they eat and they're pretty impressed, they have like a whole conversation about meat. It's a little weird. She says, my advisor said that young people shouldn't stay cooped up in the academia all the time and told me that I should take the chance to get out and see the stars in other skies. Maybe I could think of this as my first internship experience, but it sure is exhausting. So it's fun and nice to see that Layla is trying to like get out there into the world. She's trying not to just stay cooped up. And it seems like she's taking someone's advice other than shadowself, although there's a part of me that's starting to believe that shadowself could be her advisor or her mentor at this rate. Who fucking knows, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then she also shows up in Summertide Scales and Tales, which is our Simulanka summer event. Now, while she is not in Simulanka, she's involved in what I consider to be the most we got you moment in Genshin history, where there's this big hullabaloo about a book. And the book has these notes in it that are suggesting like who the killer in the book is and all this jazz. And we go on this whole goose hunt in this event chapter, trying to figure out who it is, just for Sino to be like, oh, Tignari wrote these notes. And we're like, how did you know that? And he goes, because Tignari's been using the same pen since college. And this is that pen ink. And I'm like, you two are really in love. Like, his pen ink? Really? But Layla does show up in that, and we get to ask her about the book. And she basically is like, I was never interested in reading the book. Someone actually told me not to read it because it's boring. I was like, oh shit. But she knows that everyone's like super interested in the book. And she tells Paimon like, I'm just so tired. And Paimon's like, we're not even here, Layla. This is all a dream. And she kind of like woos away. And then the last like event that she shows up in, that's a big one and not a web event or anything. She shows up in the Nahida birthday bash. And basically, while she's not a main character in this, throughout the entire event, you can find Layla outside of the Puspa Cafe. During the first act of this event, Layla is outside of the cafe and she is so stressed out because of projects and things that are going on that her shadow self is out and is the one like trying to get stuff done and trying to enjoy the festival. And we ask like, is there anything we could do to help Layla? Like we feel bad that she's so stressed out when all this fun is happening. And shadow self says, sorry, I'm not sure we could trust such complex and precise calculations to someone else. Just visit her more often if you have the time. I think that would make her very happy. Now, these are all like voluntary things. You don't have to talk to Layla, right? So then during the second chapter of the event, if you go and talk to Layla again outside the Puspa Cafe, you're now talking to daytime Layla. And she's pretty stressed out. And she says that even the tiniest stars possess their own light. Keep shining, and eventually there will be people who see it. I just need to pick myself up and use another method to run the numbers. So the idea is that us visiting her really helped put her in a better mood, it seems. And so then at the end, when you finish the event, the party has happened, you can find Layla again outside. And you actually have two options. If you talked to Layla throughout the entire event, you talk to Shadow Self, and she's excited to see you. And she basically says that after talking to us, Layla was feeling a lot better, and she actually got to like finish her project on time and then was able to walk around the festival herself, but then crashed really quickly. And that's why we're talking to Shadow Self. If you never talked to Layla during any of this, the Shadow Self goes, hey, it's me, all seductively. And then she's like, Layla submitted a paper on time, but she was so tired. I feel so bad she didn't get to enjoy the party. And I just think that's fun. I don't know. It was a very fun little side quest during the event. You decided to do it. And it's funny because I feel like even in the Simulanka event, she's a side quest. Like, you didn't have to do the whole book thing during that. Like, that was a total weird thing they did on the side note in Simulanka. So while Layla isn't in this event, she also is a side character in Bottleland. If you don't remember, Bottleland was the summer event where we get an invite from Alice to go spend the night in a bottle in the middle of the desert with Eula and Kale and some other people as well. So like I said, she's not in it, but there is a memento that you can collect, and if you get it, there's a letter inside, and it basically explains that Layla was a guest in Bottleland at one point, that she fell asleep, she was watching the stars, and she woke up in the bottle, and she's helped by Adia, who is the Oceanin in charge of the bottle. And she's told that it's very common for people to leave a gift for the next guest when they leave Bottleland. When Layla said she fell asleep watching the stars, didn't really have anything on her. So when she first got there, Adia had given her some Mora, and she was like, you should take this and you should use it to buy some pretty furniture for your home. And Layla was like, bitch, I already have pretty furniture. No. Layla was like, actually, my house is full of books and star charts, and I have room for nothing else. So she decides to leave the Mora as her gift for the next guest. And she really suggests that whoever the next guest is, whoever's reading the letter, really takes advantage of Bottleland and enjoys it and relaxes and tries to see the stars from it because it seems like a beautiful place.
She should have kept the Mora and spent it on sleepy gummies.
I mean, you're absolutely right. And we didn't get to talk about it really, how she got her vision.
Yeah.
It was kind of like she found it in her. I mean, it's a good story. Don't get me wrong. But it's weird how she just found it. She didn't know she actually had it. Like, she gets into the discussion in a seminar with, like, it's a very heated debate, like, kind of a thing with this. It's called the Herbad, who is like a high esteemed researcher, basically the dude running the seminar. And in it, in the seminar, he criticizes her arguments and says, like, how dare you be, like, questioning the fundamentals of astrology. So while she didn't, like, go back at him right then and there in the seminar, she wrote she wrote a letter and saying, like, why he's wrong and she's right. And, like, he responds back to her, and this goes on for, like, a while. And in the end, the dude is just like, oh, you know what? I brought your findings to some other researchers, and you were right. You found some stuff that it hasn't really been looked at before. And he's just like, I'm very proud of you. Like, that's awesome that you're persistent in knowledge and stuff. And she's just like, I know, I'm awesome. And then, like, at the end of, like, the semester, her seminars are over, and she's going her bag that has, like, basically these back and forths with this professor. And her vision's just sitting there. She's like, oh, look at that.
Yeah. And I think, the sort of challenge that she had to get her vision was the fact that, she kind of defied her own demeanor and her own personality of, at least daytime's personality, because normally, like, students in the academia are very intimidated by the Herbad and would never, like, if the Herbad would, were to admonish someone at a seminar, most students would back away, clam up, walk out with their tail between their legs. And it was kind of out of character for Layla to be like, you know what? No, I'm going to write a very thorough and thoughtful response, and I'm not going to let up. And, kept doing it and going back and forth with this person when you think about, how Layla behaves and how timid and meek she is and how stressed out and, like, constantly worried that she's not good enough. It kind of did display, like, something out of the ordinary and, like, a big accomplishment for her that she would even be willing to stand up to him to do that. So, and
it's interesting because, like, it's very comparative to how Tignari got his vision. I don't know if you guys remember that story, but, like, he also stood up against, like, a researcher or a classmate, I think, and got his vision in that way as well. So I thought that was a pretty interesting take at two researchers and how they got their visions. Obviously, they're different people. I don't think Tignari was ever that stressed out in college, unfortunately, for Layla, but he definitely had his own qualms with being a Lukashuna and having the fox features and things like that. But Layla it's really funny. Layla has a voice line about her vision where she says, she's like, where's that glow coming from? Because she's waking up from falling asleep and she sees her vision and she goes, wait, but didn't I leave this on my nightstand? So it's almost suggesting that Shadow Self took the vision off for some reason. We don't know why, of course.
Oh yeah, she probably took it when she was running around outside in the night.
Oh, right. And
And
now
they
it's
just
back
didn't.
on.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that. I was like, what is she doing with it? Like,
I'm glad she
girl.
takes it with her to protect herself.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank God. Also, one of my favorite things in Genshin, specifically with Genshin when reading fan fiction, is how people use their visions. And I feel like this is the first time, not how people use their visions, but like how they use it in like a day-to-day sense, like not in like using the magic sense.
Right.
Because we never really hear characters and what they do and when they change and like do you take your vision? Do you always have your vision on you? We know that like if your vision is taken from you, you can lose your ambitions. So it was really nice, I think, to be like, oh, when Layla goes to bed, she takes the vision and puts it on her nightstand. Because whenever I read Genshin fan fiction, like everyone has a different idea of like what you can do. And even myself, I've been like, what am I supposed to say? Like, especially for me when Nat and Albedo are like spending the night together, it's like they put their visions next to each other and they hope to God they don't mix them up the next morning because they both have Geo Mondstadt visions. Like, and that's always been my question too, is like what happens then? Like what if Nat took Albedo's vision by accident? Like what would happen? She actually has an engraving on her vision casing now, and that's how they tell them apart, just so because everyone obviously wanted to know my run around with that. But fan fictions aside, there was one other thing I just wanted to say about Layla. Layla's constellation is Lucinia, which is nightingale in Latin. And I think it's really interesting because whenever I do research for a character, I always start by looking at their name card, their outfit description, and their constellation. And without doing really any research on Layla and just knowing like the surface level of who she was, I was very confused about why they would give her nightingale, because a nightingale is very symbolic of love and beauty and poetry. And I was very confused by that. I like had to Google more about it. But male nightingales are very well known for singing like this really pretty song that you usually can only hear at night. And so after researching Layla and understanding everything, I kind of found that Shadow Self was the beautiful song. And it's like the real Layla comes out at night. And it's beautiful and it's wonderful and she's smart and she's talented and she's strong. And I didn't get to put two and two together until hearing Shadow Self be like, I am the real Layla. And so I just thought that was a really beautiful comparison. I don't know if they did that on purpose, but the idea that the real Layla at the heart of things is that beautiful song. And unfortunately, right now, she's only being heard at night.
Right. Yeah, that's cool.
That being said, I think that if we don't get to the male section soon, Kirara's Shadow Self is going to come and scratch us all up. So we're going to move on to our male section this week. Kirara has left us quite a few messages from travelers. So our first message comes from Kimiko, and they said, which battle theme is your favorite and your least favorite? By battle theme, I assume we're talking like a world boss or a weekly boss.
And like theme, like the story behind it or like the music?
The music.
Okay.
So I'll go first because
You don't want me to steal your answer.
Yeah, because you've already stolen it before for other things, and I need to go first this time. So my favorite battle theme is the narwhal. Come on. I don't know how many times any of us can say dubstep, dubstep, dubstep. I bop the shit out of that. Sometimes I pick characters that aren't going to be great in it when we're doing it in co-op so we can be there longer.
Oh my God.
And I can hear the music just a little bit more.
Note to self, don't do the narwhal with Feeny anymore.
Luckily, I don't need it anymore as of right now. My least favorite battle theme is the Ashtaha theme, because I hate it. I'm just full of trauma from it. And it's my least favorite because of that. And our friend recently finally unlocked Ashtaha so we can help them with it in co-op. And we died every time we fought it.
Oh no.
So, and that might have been on us. It might have been user error. We hadn't done it in a while. But yeah, I hate that bitch. So that's my least favorite.
I took this as music that plays when you get into combat, just when you're running around the regions.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't think of a least favorite. Well, no, I have a least favorite. Okay. So I'm gonna say for my favorite, hands down, is Economia. I think at the time it got to where it was a little like scary to hear that music because every 3 steps you would be in a fight.
And then you just start crying.
Yeah, when you first get to Economia, like when it first came out. But in retrospect, it is like really, really great music. And it's really energizing, and it's a great juxtaposition of the other music in Economia. So that is my favorite. And then my least favorite, I'm going to say, is the Inazuma battle music when you get into combat, because there's something about the plucking of all the little strings that like triggers my danger. Like danger, danger, danger. You're in Inazuma and everything's trying to kill you. And I know that Economia is kind of the same way, but there's something more like serene and soothing about Economia, I think, just because of the landscape. Whereas the Inazuma landscape felt more dangerous and chaotic, and there's like electro barriers everywhere, and like you have to fix the furnace. It's just, so yeah, I'm gonna say Inazuma, my least favorite.
All right. And what about you, Tiff?
I'm going to mix it up a little bit. My favorite boss it's the narwhal. That music is awesome. I don't care that you already said it. I'm saying it too.
That's okay.
But my least favorite, I'm gonna actually go with what I'm gonna split the difference. I'm gonna go with Fiends on the favorite side, and on the least favorite, I'm gonna go with Brandon and say that my actual like fighting in a region area that I dislike the most is Natlan. And I think it's only because it gives me a little bit of like nervous energy. Like even like I have a PlayStation that I play on, and when you hover over the title, like Natlan music plays, and it's too much for me sometimes. I'm like, I need to calm down. Like, this is too much.
Why does Natlan give you anxiety?
I think it's just maybe it's partly like the fights to me are harder.
It's those 3 enemies up on that hill, isn't it?
Yes.
Stop. Don't talk about them.
Motherfuckers.
Remember when I thought that was going to give me my 1%?
Yeah.
What are their name? What are they called?
Asshole, bitch, and dick. For travelers who don't know, in Natland, I like over in the top area somewhere, not Ochka, but like, I don't know. We'll
In
show
the
a
original,
screenshot.
yeah, the original area.
There are 3 super, super fucking powerful, strong Fatui guys. Like the fire one, the hydro one, and the electro one. And I was doing exploration, and I was 99% done with that region of Natlan. And I really believed that if I beat those 3 guys, I would get my other 1%. And Tiff and I tried fighting it together. I tried doing it alone. So we called in reinforcements. Brandon came in. Our friend Maury came in. It still took us like how many times before we could beat it. And I didn't get my 1%. And I almost like went to bed. I was just like, good night. Like, I'm done. Like, this is ridiculous. But my trauma aside, Kimiko, let us know if we actually answered that properly. You know where to find us. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next message comes from Elliot, and they said, all right, I don't remember if this has been asked before, but what is your element and weapon for the rest of the non-playable Harbingers? So the question here is, what element and weapon would we give to the Harbingers that have not been released? I want to just review the ones that we do know so far. We do know that Capitano is a cryo sword user. We do not know if that cryo comes from a vision or a delusion. We are unaware if he has both or just one, in which case it would be a cryo delusion. We know that Arlecchino has a pyro vision. Unknown what her delusion is, though I think the suggestion has been she might have like a water or ice delusion. I think we talked about that in her episode. And she is a polearm.
A polearm that turns into a scythe.
Polearm that turns into a scythe. Then we have Scaramouche, who is no longer a Harbinger, according to Irminsul. But when he was a Harbinger, he just was electric. He had no vision that I know of, and he had no delusion. I don't even know what his weapon was, because we never fight him when he's like, yeah, we don't fight him like that. Yeah. But, you know, Wanderer now is an Anemo catalyst, so that's fun. You then have Signora, who had pyro powers from her witchcraft, a cryo delusion that saved her life, and she used a really cool bone-looking catalyst. And then we have a child Tartaglia Ajax, who has a hydrovision and electro delusion, and while he is skilled in most weapons, chooses a bow because he sucks at it. But you can choose daggers for him. So those are the ones we know. So I think we should go in order and like answer. So like we're gonna start with Piero, who is, you know, the founder of the Harbingers. What do you guys think Piero would be?
I guessed Cryo Claymore.
Big dick energy.
Yeah, and just like leader of the Fatui. They're in Snezhnaya, which is the land of cryo. So since he's sort of like a figurehead, I just feel like he would be cryo. Now, I know that the Saritsa would definitely be cryo, but I don't know what's going on with her. She's so mysterious. I don't know if we'll even get to play as her. So I'm gonna guess that for Piero.
I said an animo sword.
Dead friend.
I feel like everyone is dead. And I just feel like a sword is so classy for like a leader of a group like that. I also feel like somehow he's going to be related back to Mondstadt. You know how I feel about Mondstadt in Endgame. So I thought it'd be nice to give him that animo one.
I had a hard time. I wanted everybody to be cryo because in my mind, Shaznia, a winter's night Lotso, it just sees snow and coldness. So I tried to not name that for everybody, but I did give that to Piero because of him being the director. I feel like he would be the closest to the Saritsa, so I feel like he would also be cryo. I gave him a polearm just because he's such a tall dude. I just kind of saw him with a staff.
Okay. So then our next character that is not known becomes Dottore, aka the worst character. Or one of the worst characters. He's in my top 5 least favorite characters. What did you guys give Dottore?
I said Electro Polearm. I based this more on his personality. He just seems like he would be Electro. And then Polearm, I just feel like, you know, I kind of associate Polearms with like characters that keep everyone at arm's length, which I would expect Dottore to do. So
that is astute.
thank you.
I love a polearm, so I play a lot of polearms, and that is so fucking true.
Not everyone.
But
I feel like the
majority
Pyro ones don't, but I don't know. It's fun to think about.
I went with Pyro Sword. Again, I wanted to give every cryo, but I gave him Pyro because I feel like he just burns the shit out of everything and just puts it up in flames and makes ashes out of everything. And Sword because it reminded me of a knife, and he's a doctor and a surgeon type of thing.
We wrote down all of our answers in advance, and I just wrote death. I just want him to die, and he doesn't deserve powers. I will also say I think it's interesting that we've seen a character model for Dottore and we didn't see a delusion or vision on him. Of course, we did not see him from a 360 view. But based off of his design, I think I'd have to go cryo or hydro, but I'm going to take some notes from the manga and say that he's cryo because his little like pin needles that he shoots out, they have like a blue tint that's more of a cryo blue. So I'm probably pulling on fucking strings there. But I'm gonna go cryo. And I'm also gonna go polearm with him. I feel like he would keep people far, far away. And also he needs to be able to stab his alternates when they don't do what he says. like it's like a fork. He's like,
yeah, like a catalyst doesn't feel violent enough.
Yeah, but he's too like twinky to have a claymore properly.
In the manga, I think he's very foreboding in Sumeru, right? We see him in Sumeru.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it because
I was like, wait, did I get that wrong?
In the manga, we see him in Mondstadt and Snezhnaya.
Yeah, and he looks like a jester in that one. So I always want to make him a jester. He looks like, well, I guess he looks like Joker also.
He looks creepy. But we see him in the manga, and then we see him in the Signora funeral video, and in that he looks a little more bulky, but I think it's just the jacket.
You know what would be really cool? As much as I don't see him having a catalyst, what if his catalyst turned into this is so stupid. What if his catalyst turned into like multiple juggling balls and he just juggled balls at you? And they each like were a different element.
Oh my god.
Brandon!
He's a juggler. It fits the manga look, that's for sure.
I could see him being a catalyst because of the manga with the fucking pins. Like he can shoot pins, Brandon.
Little syringes.
But yeah, Also, we know that the manga version is most likely a duplicate, which is sad that he doesn't look like that, but whatever.
Segment.
A
Yeah.
segment. All right. So the next harbinger we have is Columbina. Columbina is the one that is singing on the piano, like la 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 la, about Senora.
Isn't she crying on her coffin too?
Yeah. I was like, what's piano?
Is that not? Is there no piano?
No, that's Senora's coffin, I think.
But she's not crying. She's singing. She's hyped.
Well, she looks like she's smiling. She almost looks giddy.
I think that she actually knew Senora was gonna die, and she was like, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
In my mind, I have like a love affair with them. Like this is her lover that died.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
interesting. I think that she is going to be a pyrocatalyst. So, and that's mostly based on her design, but also someone who, because she kind of comes across as cuckoo bananas.
Yeah.
So, someone that is like a little, like maybe she's been touched a little too hard by wielding magic. That was
Yeah.
the vibe that I was getting. And pyro, because her sanity flickers like a flame.
I gave her a dendro catalyst. Dendro because she's cuckoo bananas. That was honestly, I was like, she's been smoking too much stuff. So she's been making it and smoking it. And she just seemed too frail to be holding anything. So I just went with catalyst because she could not be as combatty.
She's gonna get high with Hypatia.
Yes.
Oh my God.
She's the one who wanted Hypatia all along.
I wanted to say one thing about Columbina that's a little off topic before I say mine. That way Tiff can't yell at me. Columbina's design reminds me a lot of Robin's design in Star Rail, but like the dark version of it because of the wings in her hair. Like that's what it looks like, at least, is that there's like wings in her hair in that. And it reminds me very much of Robin's. And like I said, almost like she's like a dark Robin. I think that's also funny because Robin sings in Star Rail and we see Columbina singing in Genshin. That's my thought there. But I think she's an electro catalyst. And the electro just makes me think of like the witchy vibes, like you guys were saying. Like I'm thinking like a dark Lisa, basically. And I think she'd definitely be a catalyst. So the next one from there is Pulcinella, aka the Rooster, the Mayor, Child's mentor, who's probably going to stab him in the back.
The Monopoly Man.
The Monopoly Man, Igor from Persona 5. Whatever tickles your fancy with this man. I'm so excited to meet him one day. And like, if he does something to Child's family, specifically to Sir Tanya, I will throw hands. But for me, I'm going to go Cryo Bow. I feel like as the mayor of Snezhnaya, you gotta be a Cryo. And then I also feel like a bow user, and I say that because Child is so fixated on learning how to use a bow properly that I feel like that would come from wanting to be closer to someone like a mentor. And we know that Pulcinella takes care of his family and stuff, quote unquote, while he's away. So I could see him trying to be more like him.
I had a really hard time choosing the elements for him versus Pantalone because I feel like they're so in cahoots. But I went with Geo's sword for Pulcinella because I could see him being like a fencing sword, and Geo because he's like the Snezhnaya dad. Like he makes a lot of the plans for the Fatui. He is organized. He's like forceful, stable, relatively stable for the Harbingers.
Yeah.
So that's what I went with.
That makes sense too.
I went with a hydro polearm. The hydro, mainly because in my mind, with him being the mayor, sometimes he has to grease the wheels and make things happen. And what's the best way to make frozen things happen? Throwing some water on it.
Yeah.
And then I went with polearm again because I could see him with a staff, and maybe that's because he kind of has a staff, like a long cane type of thing, I think.
He's got little arms. He needs to reach.
You have T-Rex arms?
I almost went with Hydro for him, by the way. So
Nice.
but I switched the Hydro to Pantalone.
I'm sorry, all I can see him now is with T-Rex arms, and it's really cracking me up.
Oh my God. So then our next empty slot, our next unknown goes to Sandrone, who is the marionette. And Sandrone is the one with the giant robot machine behind her that she's sitting on, the one that kind of looks like Catherine, which, of course,
Not the
sparks
giant
many
machine.
questions. Yeah, the Sandrone herself kind of looks like Catherine.
For her, I went with Geo because of making things. Then that just like to me, Geo puts things together. But I went with Catalyst because she has a giant marionette doing shit for her. Why is she going to pick up a weapon herself?
Yeah, I actually said the same thing, and for the same reason. And if you look at the design on Construct, it almost looks like there's like geo sigils on it or something.
Mm.
Like it just looks geo to me. And I went with Catalyst for the same reason, although it could also be a Claymore because Dory is a Claymore wielder, and so is Kaveh, but they have like other things wielding the Claymore
Ooh,
for them.
good point.
So, but it could go either way, you know what I
That's
mean?
a good point. I could see that giant thing with a claymore.
Yeah, like it could be the Claymore wielder for her,
Yeah.
but she could also have some other kind of weapon that she controls with her catalyst.
Mm.
So I didn't say a catalyst. I said a Geo bow. I felt the same way that she gave off the Geo vibes. And I kind of felt like she could use her robot guy as like a catalyst. Like she'd be like thrown in the air and then doing cool bow moves.
Mm.
But I honestly might change mine to a catalyst. I think you guys really sold me on that.
I like the idea of a bow if her robot thing like went after her arrows. You know what I mean? Like she shoots an arrow at you and that's the target of the robot.
Mm.
All right, so we all went Geo here. So we have one more. We have Pantalone, the Regrader, Yelan's lover / enemy, depending on who you are. The money pants of the Harbingers, which is crazy because Child is the money pants for Zhongli. So how times have changed. I'll go first for this one. For Pantalone, I actually gave him a Hydro Sword. And I will say part of this might have been slightly influenced by the fact that I still want him to be Xingqiu's brother so badly. But I just think that he would be very elegant in his sword fighting. And again, probably pulling that because Xingqiu and Kaya both make sword fighting look so beautiful. But I feel like he'd be very elegant and beautiful in his fighting skills. And I feel like water can be very graceful as well. So that's basically what I gave for him.
I also went Hydro, but I chose Catalyst. And again, I was going back and forth on Hydro or Geo for him because I could also see it Geo in terms of what his personality seems to be and what skills he has. Like he's very organized. He's obsessed with Mora. So I could see him being a Geo just to be like a strong enemy for Zhongli. But if you look at his design, I think it would make more sense for him to be Hydro because he is also kind of like hard to find. He's elusive in the way that water could be. I mean, I know most Hydro characters in the game tend to be supportive figures, but he also is kind of supportive for the Fatui because he controls all their money. He works very closely with Pulcinella. So I feel like it could go either way, but I went with Hydro Catalyst because he just has that twink Baiju energy, and I could just see him with a catalyst. Like he doesn't seem like someone who wants to get his hands dirty because he also like never leaves Snezhnaya. So.
And I kind of went the same idea of he doesn't like getting his hands dirty, and that's why I went with Bo because he wants to kill things from afar. He doesn't want to have to go close to it. He'd like to just do it from his little pulpit in Snezhnaya. But I made him an Animo, and mainly because, and I know that they all probably have dead friends, but he felt like to me like he's got some Senora dead like partner kind of shit going on. Like he's like wounded by a dead friend, or maybe he is Xingqiu's brother and Xingqiu's gonna die.
Wow. That hurt my soul just a little bit. Fuck Amanda. Jesus Christ.
Maybe he's Xingqiu's cousin and he's gonna kill Xingqiu's brother.
Ah,
Well, on that note, guys, before Tiff and Brandon can kill anyone else that I care about,
But thanks, Elliot.
thanks, Elliot. That is all the time we have for today. If you like this episode and you'd like to hear some more, you can feel free to email us at talesoftevatpod@gmail.com, where Albedo will vet through our mail and hopefully give us kind comments and advice. I don't know what he does with the other mails.
Oh, I know what he does with the other mails.
Shoves them where the sun don't shine.
Oh, yeah.
Additionally, travelers can feel free to rate us wherever you listen to podcasts to let travelers know that we have some pretty riveting content over here. Take that as you may. You can also check out our Ko-fi shop where you could buy us a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, or check out our merch shop. All proceeds go to paying for our web hosting, our editing software, and generally keeping us going while we create content for this podcast. You can also give us a follow on Instagram, Tales of Teyvat Pod, Twitter, Tales of Teyvat, or on Blue Sky or Threads. We're under the same titles. We're also on YouTube, so you can check us out there. Next week, we are going to be talking about the Daydream Club. And this has been a dream of Brandon and I's.
Yes.
We are so
Half
excited.
the people listening are like, what the hell is the Daydream Club? You're going to find out.
You're going to find out you know a good number of Daydream Club members. We're going to talk a lot about petrichor and a cat that hangs out in Natlan. So get ready. It's going to be a good-ass time.
And I hope the rest of you are also singing Daydream Believer with me from the Monkees, because every time I read it, I just keep going on and on about, yeah.
I'm not singing it.
You will.
How does it go? Daydream believer.
Oh, man.
Homecoming queen. I can't sing.
We're all the homecoming queen here.
Mm-hmm.
Until then, safe journeys, travelers. We'll see you next time.
Sweet dreams, astrology nerds.
Ooh. Will you let me read your tarot now?
Oh, you can read my tarot, but not my star chart.
That's fine. I don't want to do that. No star charts. I'm not reading lines on your hands. Don't worry. I'll be like, you're going to die in 7 days.